I'm all about analogies, and so I kind of think about this process as if you were to protect yourself while you're on the road. If you think about a motorist that's on a motorcycle that is not wearing a helmet and just flying down the road, his level of protection is literally minimal. Is very likely that he's going to get hurt in any kind of accident and badly hurt, probably. Now, if we put a level of protection like a helmet on that person or a protective jacket, they'll probably have a much higher reduction in burns from hitting the road, head injury, trauma to the head because having the helmet is going to protect them. Now, if we take that same person and put that person inside of a very well protected vehicle, maybe with a roll cage, now we're even upping that level of protection even higher for that individual. And so what you're saying is that the more levels of protection that we're adding to a vehicle, just the more robust the amount or percentage of the likelihood that that vehicle is going to survive. And I would also assume that this would be dependent on the epicenter of where that blast or anything would come from. So if you were directly overhead, you could have several things on there, but you could have catastrophic damage to something if you're directly below it, as opposed to being further outside the circle of that epicenter, with having those same types of mitigation tools on your vehicle. So it's really going to depend on scenario based on location, but then also how much protection that you're adding, whether it's the trap devices, the shunt devices, and all the above in multiple locations. Correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And it's not even as simple as how close you are to the detonation. It's, you end up with a weird like horseshoe pattern that develops from the highest fields around it. So you'd think it would be, circular, and the further out you go, the less it is. And to some degree, it is that. But right near the detonation, let's say the 50, 100 miles in the area of the detonation on the ground, it creates a weird pattern, not like a horseshoe pattern is the way I describe it. So you could be, 2 miles away from somebody else and them happen to be inside that horseshoe area and you're outside and you suffer no damage and they suffer damage. So it's a tricky thing, and it's even more complicated than that because it depends on which car you have, how much metal your car, it has natural shielding, right? How the wires in your car are shielded or oriented versus the electromagnetic wave that comes in. And there's so many complexities to it. And so many people say, well, why don't we just design cars that are EMP hardened or something? And the reason is that every car would have a unique solution because they all have unique susceptibilities, right? And you really have to approach it, as an engineering problem when you first started on the vehicle. And honestly, the cost of that just is not, reasonable for a car manufacturer, I think. But yeah, so it certainly depends on where you are, and you're just buying down your risk that wherever you are, you have improved your chances.
Yeah, we work on vehicles every day, and we often find ourselves scratching our head why engineers decided to put some things in places that
Sure.
they did,
Sure.
or maybe some things were an afterthought, and we're like, oh yeah, we needed this too, and then it just got stuck there,
Yeah.
and we end up having to fix it and it's buried location sometimes, and
Yeah.
so I totally understand the complexity of that because there are some cars that are engineered. It's like, wow, everything was thought of on this one, and then you go to the next car, and it's like nothing was thought
Yeah.
of. It seems like
Yeah.
this entire car was an argument.